Hi there folks, my name's NovaWing24 and welcome to another little review of an FSX and P3D product. So today we're going to be having a look at Chaseplane. So Chaseplane comes to us from FSFX Packages. Now this is a camera utility, probably best go into FSFX Packages. God, that's a real mouthful. It really is. So they're famous for bringing us Precipitate FX and the immersion packages for a variety of pay-war aircraft, essentially giving us really cool environmental effects. Chaseplane was or is their attempt to break into the camera market for the ESP platforms. Now, recently I reviewed the latest iteration of EZDOK on my channel here. And Chaseplane attempts to basically knock EZDOK off its pedestal, as EZDOK has been pretty much the only game in town when it came to actually using customized views for your aircraft. Very easy, very simple to set up. Let me rephrase. EZDOK's not easy and simple to set up, but it's, as I said, it's pretty much the only game in town if you want to have custom views and be able to move around your cockpit in the world easily, quickly and functionally. So Chaseplane attempts to actually break into that market and present us as flight simmers a alternative to actually being able to use EZDOK and to give us something a little bit different. And they've gone about it in a couple of interesting ways as to how they've gone it, and they've got a couple of things in there that, quite frankly, I was hoping to see in EZDOK 2, and I didn't see it. So as I said, this is me coming into this. I've had EZDOK for years. I've already reviewed EZDOK 2, and I picked up Chaseplane because I wanted to be able to compare the difference. Now I know that a couple of other YouTubers out there have already looked at it and whatever. So, but yeah, I think it's high time that I have a look at it as well and give you guys my thoughts and opinions on it. Now I want to make very clear at the moment that this product is still in alpha. So it's in alpha 2. So it's the second stage of the alpha program before they go to beta. They'll be going to beta later in 2017. Excuse me, but at the moment, so we are looking at an alpha product, so this product is not finished. It's still very much a work in progress. But yeah, there you go. So let's have a look at Chaseplane, and let's have a quick look at it. Alright, so the first thing for us to have a look at is the fact that Chaseplane is, when it installs, you get the option of installing it where you want to do. Unlike EZDOK version 2, you can only install it in the one place. Now, Chaseplane allows you to install it wherever you want. And here's the thing: Chaseplane is an incredibly lightweight program. This is it. This is the installer. It's one file. It's an executable. That's it. From what I can tell, now I've done a lot of digging here. One of the things that's good/bad is that, as far as I can tell, it doesn't store the information about the camera settings locally. Now, I've done some digging, looking around in the flight simulator and looking around the app data and all the rest of it. I can't find where it's storing it locally, so possibly an issue as well is the fact it is all stored online or whatever, but at least you're able to install it where you want to install it, and not be forced to actually install it somewhere else. So pros and cons. Alright, so as I said, very lightweight program. Now the other really good part about Chaseplane is the fact that you don't have to have your simulator running to actually run Chaseplane and set it up. So this is really useful. So one of the issues with EZDOK in all its forms, as we quickly open up Chaseplane here, is the fact that EZDOK requires the sim to be running. If the sim is not running, EZDOK will not load. It will error out and throw you an error and say, can't find sim, I'm out of here, I'm done. So that's cool, that's good, but yeah, a little frustrating, especially if you want to set up controls and stuff like that. So this is the great thing about Chaseplane, is the fact that Chaseplane can be set up and just run and just sit there, and then that's all good. You can set up all your controls and everything else, read the manuals, all that kind of stuff, without actually having to have the simulator running. So speaking of which, now that we've fired Chaseplane up, let's have a look at it when it's not connected to a simulator. So we got down here, preferences. Pretty much the only thing you can actually really look at is preferences. The only thing that's doable. But as I said, this is where all the controls are. So what we've got here is we've got a few basic general sort of things that we go through. So for example, we've got experimental versions. So as you can see, currently at the moment I'm running 0.1.571 alpha experimental version. So this is the latest build. So you can choose to just use the latest stable alpha build, and it will, as I said, when you load up Chaseplane, it'll always check for an update to see if there's an update available for based on your settings here. I like to keep an eye on the experimental versions because so far it's been pretty good. I haven't found too many bugs with it yet. Next one, basically pretty much got me. You know, when you minimize it, does it go to the taskbar or not? Yep, that's fine. Advanced simulative features disable. I don't know why you would disable that, but you can do that if you want. When it does an update, will it flash up a little window saying what's new, default always on top, VAS used, VAS remaining. This is kind of interesting. It's got a little monitor up here to show your VAS, what's still available for you. So basically, if it's a negative value, it'll show how much memory your system still has to use. And showing a positive value, then you're starting to overuse it. So yeah, that can be a little bit scary. And also usage statistics, so it's a good idea if you're going to be taking part in the alpha and the beta, leave this one enabled so the guys can actually get some feedback. Not gonna lie. You can also set your auto launch preferences. So this basically selecting this will enable it so that it actually automatically inserts itself into the exe.xml to make sure that if you haven't already opened up Chaseplane when you start your sim, it will fire it Chaseplane up for you. This one over here is kind of interesting. Dynamically selecting CPUs. So basically, it'll go through and figure out which CPU has the least load on it, and it will allocate the resources that Chaseplane uses based to the CPUs with the least load on it. So it means that if you've got a couple of CPUs that aren't doing a great deal with your sim, that's fine. That's the ones that Chaseplane will use. So you're not going to have, one CPU which is going to be massively overdone. You can also deselect this dynamic and that's just force it to use certain CPUs if you so desire as well. And a really good one here is a lot of your reset ones, so you can reset everything to factory settings, reset controls and stuff like that. So yeah, just a general things. Generate report file is interesting. So if you ever do engage them for some support and they want some advice or need some more information from you, they'll ask you to click that one. Cool, so that's your general preferences for Chaseplane. Alright, let's go have a look at camera. Alright, so camera, again, we've got some interesting little things here. So what's really kind of cool, and I've got some cool stuff down here. So enable middle mouse view. So basically, if you press and hold down the middle mouse view, will that sort of simply give the mouse control of the camera? Whether you want to have track IR enabled or not. I don't know if this supports your other head and eye tracking software out there and hardware out there. I don't know. I only know it's at the moment it just seems to be track IR. That's what anybody seems to be talking about, and it's the only one I have, so it's the only one I could test. Camera movement sound. Oh yeah, this one here. These settings at the moment are not enabled. So virtual walls, virtual doors, and data overlay. These ones at the moment are disabled. So this is things that are not implemented yet, and things that we will see into the future. We hope as well. Okay, camera movements down here. So we've got a reset camera when track IR is paused. This is a really cool thing and something that a little disappointed that that EZDOK 2 doesn't support. EZDOK 1 supported this. EZDOK 2 doesn't seem to support this at the moment. That when you pause track IR or when track IR loses its view of the actual piece mounted on your headset or on your hat, it will actually sort of just go back to the default. It'll sort of like flounder around at the moment in EZDOK 2. So this is a feature of EZDOK 1, and I'm really happy to see this one. It's really useful when you're actually trying to set camera presets and camera positions. It's really useful to be able to do this. So I just quickly disable my track IR while I move stuff around. Pan and tilt on middle mouse hold, so whether or not the middle mouse button will to control pan and tilt as both of them as well. When you hold down the middle mouse button, or if when you hold down the middle mouse button, nothing actually happens. Alright, pause turbulences on mouse move and in slew mode. Essentially, it means that will it disable, leave the effects enabled or disabled when you're actually in mouse move mode or in slew mode. So come there. Speed boost. So speed boost, when you're zipping the camera around, you have the option of activating a speed boost button, and this simply controls the percentage by how much it will increase the actual camera movement speed. Everything from 0.5 all the way up to 20 times. Cinematic mode. Now, cinematic mode is kind of cool and kind of interesting. Something that I'm looking forward to showing you in this one as well. So essentially, this has got a series of it'll generate a series of about at the moment it looks like it's about 5 or 6 camera views that will have a form of motion. Now, this has got a couple of settings that go with that. So, for example, it's got an automatic setting of disable in high evaluated. The high memory usage conditions. So if you've got a high memory usage, it will automatically disable this mode, because this mode seems to use a reasonable chunk of your memory to do this. Change camera angles. Now, essentially, this is how often the camera angle will change. So it goes through a set of I want to say randomly generated, but it looks like there's only about 5 or 6 presets at the moment. Potentially, again, something that they're working on. And this is how often the angle will change. As a side effect, it also controls how quickly the camera will move while it's in that angle. So you can have it change to just manual only, or you can have it change from every 10 seconds all the way up to every 220 seconds. But bear in mind that the higher this value, the slower that cinematic camera will move. So for the purposes of today, we're going to set this around about 15 seconds, so you guys will be able to see some of these views when we get into the sim in a little bit later on. Alright, auto enable above flight level 180 after 5 or X number of minutes. This is an interesting feature. Basically, it's there so that if you're in, if or when you're in cruise, and you just want to admire the scenery and admire the beauty that is your aircraft that you're flying, this will automatically kick in cinematic mode. So, but it's got a couple of caveats on it though. So you must be above flight level 180, so above 18,000 feet. And the timer is how long you haven't had a control or mouse input. So if you're, engage your autopilot, hands off controls, and hands off mouse, so you're not looking or clicking around the cockpit, what will happen is after 5 minutes of inactivity, it will automatically switch from whatever view you're in to the cinematic mode, which is kind of cool and kind of awesome. Best part about it as well is that as soon as you move the mouse or move a controller or move one of your flight controls, it will automatically switch back to the view you were last in. So if you're in the cockpit view, and if you're in the cockpit view and you'd left everything alone, it switches over to this. Awesome. As soon as you move the mouse, bang, you're back straight into the cockpit. No, it just snaps straight to it. Really, really cool. I kind of like it. You can also disable this if you so desire, or you can extend out the period before it actually the auto enable will kick in. Again, we're gonna keep it pretty low for this one, so we can actually demonstrate this one with this one. All right, okay. Control override speed. So this is just some things. So if you actually your moving controls is what's the speed that they will be moved at. Inertia is sort of how much mass is in the camera, as it were. So how long does it take to accelerate and slow down? So yeah, kind of cool. These are still very much works in progress at the moment. By the way, they really, really are. Alright, so that's the camera general settings. Next one is control assignments, and this is possibly my most favorite and exciting part about chase plane, and for me a real big thing over EZDOK. Now, as I said, I've been using EZDOK for years. I love it. I think it's awesome. It's a pain in the ass to set up, but I do love it. So why do I like this part of chase plane so much? It's because of this column here. You can assign directional movements to an axis. So I have now pretty sure it should be pretty much standard gaming fare for like anybody, no matter what type of simulation gaming, whatever that you do. Everyone should have an Xbox controller for your PC. Just they're like $10. They're like 10, $15. Go out, get one, because it makes playing, other, random fun games a little bit more fun. Anything that's ported over from a console, a hell of a lot easier to play. But also, it can be really useful for things like this. Now, I use it a lot in P3D's avatar mode. That's how my avatar moves around. It's an Xbox controller, and it's designed for that. But what's awesome is the fact that now my camera controls can be linked to my Xbox controller. So I've got it actually set on, so I can use the right stick for my, forward and backward. I've got my move left and right, so my right stick X axis. Tilt up is the left stick Y. Roll left and right, left stick X axis. The move up, move down is my shoulder buttons, and my pan left and right is the triggers. Couple of caveats on this though. One, mouse wheel cannot be used as an axis, which is a good thing. Don't get me wrong. This is a good thing because as we know, a lot of the it's a lot of our controls and a lot of things that we do in our side of our cockpits, of course, are linked to the mouse scroll. So yeah, you don't want to be trying to doing that and then messing with your camera as well. So that's a good omission on their part. The other thing to be aware of is the fact that, and this is probably one of my major issues with it at the moment, is the fact that now, let's just go into this one at the moment. So we'll go into this one, we'll rewind this one for the moment. So we'll click into the axis here. So we're going to use right stick, we're going to use Y again. Yeah, that's fine. Now, the reverse axis. Now, the reverse axis, unfortunately, is not on an individual axis. It's a global setting. It's an all or nothing setting, which is annoying, like really annoying, and very troublesome. The absolute axis component is on a per axis basis, but the reverse axis is not. Really annoying, that one. If it happens to be a head tracking device as well, you can also enable that as well. Not really sure how that one works, but anyway, yeah. So this is this one. So that's cool. You also see you can also do the testing of it as well. There you go. And you can change the dead zone as well, so you can reduce or increase the dead zone when it will go back to center. So yeah, that's cool. I keep these ones pretty low because this controller is pretty good. So yeah, that's it. And as I said, my only bugbear is the reverse axis. Now, if you're using something like one of the trigger axis, you do have to be careful of the absolute. So the absolute simply means that the center position is 0. It basically is what it means. So there you go. That's pretty much it. Yeah, there you go. So that's, as I said, this is possibly my most awesome, exciting feature of Chase Plane, is the fact that I can use my Xbox controller for this, which just makes a lot more easier than trying to manage 6 buttons and a mouse when trying to do camera views and move around my aircraft. So that's really cool. As you can see, otherwise it's pretty standard fare after that. You go through here, so keybinds or buttons that you set up to the different things, so global enable. The other interesting thing as well is that this is obviously some form of LUA controller based, but it also recognizes left versus right inputs on your keyboard. So left shift, right shift are actually different keys, not just shift, which can be really good, especially because that means that potentially you can bind things to things that might already be bound somewhere else, which is really useful. So for example, you could actually do left shift U and right shift U are actually 2 different keys and controls. So it means that you can reuse these things where you can clear a minimal amount of key bindings from your actual simulator. So if you're using normally a lot of keyboards rather than controller inputs, this could be very useful for you, because essentially it's doubling and tripling. It's actually it's more than quadrupling actually your options, because as I said, you've got the modifiers include left and right control as well. So a lot more modifiers for you as well into that point. Alright, onboard camera is their name for the cockpit cameras, outside camera. pretty self-explanatory. Static cameras, world cameras for EZDOK from EZDOK. Really interesting. We're going to get into those in a moment. It's got some really, really cool features in this that I really want to go through. I think they're really, really cool. New preset. New preset is a bit of a work in progress at the moment. You can't seem to actually sort of just save a new preset from the button at the moment. Tried a few different ways, didn't seem to work for me. Update preset, really great way. You can move your controls straight away and bang, done, update, you're good to go. Reset back to the original, like the save camera position, just a simple button press. Next preset, previous preset, yeah, pretty self-explanatory. Toggle your cinematic mode because it is, as I said, essentially it's a fourth camera type, and request new angle. So if you're not particularly fast at the angle that cinematic mode's thrown at you, that's fine. You just tap a button and it throws you to a new one. Gimbal is pretty much what it is. So this is a gimbal, so it locks the camera in position based on what the aircraft is doing. Mouse look is a hold. Now, unfortunately, this is not toggle. It is you have to keep holding it for it, which is a bit annoying. But again, if you've got something like an Xbox controller, you don't need to worry about a mouse look. It's awesome because you've got a controller that you can do this to. You can control axes to it, so it's almost redundant. It's almost redundant. It's great for if you don't have a controller, but seriously, if you get Chase Plane, get an Xbox controller. Just do it. Just trust me. Trust me. Anyway, okay, and speed boost. So the to activate the speed boost is a press and hold. It is not a toggle. It is a press and hold for that one. Alright, so that is pretty much, that's the preferences, and that's the setup, and that's the quick, easy way to set up your chase plane for your sim. So I suppose the next part is going to be for us to jump over into the simulator. Today we're going to be looking at this in FSX Steam Edition, but it is fully compatible with FSX Box, Steam Edition, and Prepared 3D version 2 and 3. It looks like it's compatible with all their versions as well. So, alright, without any further ado, let's fire up the sim, and let's have a look at this actually inside the simulator. Alrighty, okay, so here we are now inside the sim, and we've just loaded into the default Cessna 172 just to have a look. Now, it's going to be really cool because I want to show you quite a few things about this. I think it's, as I said, I'm kind of excited about some of the cool things in here. A few things not so much, but we'll guess you'll get those as we go on. Alright, so first thing that we notice here is that now the top left shows green. So before it was red, so now it shows that it is now, so it was showing that it wasn't connected to a sim. Now that it's green, it's showing that it's got a simulator connection, and if you hover over it like we have at the moment, you can see that it's showing which what it's connected to. So we're connected to FSX at the moment. Excellent, brilliant, and it's the version number means that it is FSX Steam Edition. Alright, so a few other things that we've noticed have changed. So obviously now we've got a couple of extra things have now been added in as well. So we've got our presets, and camera and community are available. So first off, let's start with community. Now eventually community will be is not available at the moment. That's not supposed to be available till either late beta or full release. Essentially, community will be where you can share your presets or download other people's presets for the aircraft that you've got. So yeah, just a good thing to know that's coming. But going back to presets at the moment, so you can see we've got our onboard cameras, our outside cameras, static cameras, and we'll get more into those in a little bit as well, because this is some really cool stuff about these as well, which I really like. We can also see that our VAS now is showing what's available, so we can show we've still got plenty of VAS memory available at the moment. Alright, so when you first load into a new aircraft, so you can see up the top here that we're loaded into a Cessna 172. So let's now at the moment we've got no cameras preset for this one except for the static ones, because I was going through doing some testing ready. And by the way, we're here at Lisbon International Airport, just by the way, so we can do the same testing as we did for EZDOK. Alright, so let's have a look at camera. So now that we've got a actual simulated connection with this camera field has come available. So there's a few settings that you can make here as well. So this goes through here, in-cockpit camera, external view camera, and world camera. So what we can see here is that as I move the controllers here, you can see how much movement is coming through there as well. You can see as I move across with that one, we've got forward and back, so we can see what's moving and how far it is moving away from the 0 position. So we can recenter it if we need to and stuff like that. We've also got our camera tilt. Cool. We've got our pan, left and right, and we've got our roll as well. So we can do some pretty cool head angles and roll angles as well, which is really, really cool. Alright, so there's your basic controls there, and then of course we've got our zoom now. As I don't have zoom subscribed to a thing at the moment, but I do have zoom based on my plus minus keys at the moment, so there you go. Alright, cool. And we've also got the global enable and disable button there as well. Next thing we've got here is turbulence. Now, turbulence, at this time, the turbulence for this is only how it affects the camera. Now these scales are all slidable, so they all can be done. There's no reset option on these individually. When you reset, it's a reset all or nothing deal, which is a bit again a little bit frustrating, but it's pretty simple. Basically, everything by default is 1 or 0. So it's reasonably easy to remember. Now, what's interesting as well is that down in the side of these sliders, you'll also see the green shows how much of that is actually that force is being exerted at present, and then this is the multiplier that it places on the camera effect. So again, these effects are individual per camera preset, sorry, and these are done, and these are scales based on the actual what's actually happening in the sim at the moment. These settings can also be copied and pasted onto a different camera preset as well. So very useful if you've got one standard that you like and you want to see it across on multiple cameras. You don't have to go through and reset it every time. You just simply copy and then paste on the next preset. Done. Easy. Alright, and advanced. So advanced means whether or not it will do things like track aircraft, whether the track IR is enabled, and again this is a per camera basis. Sticky mouse look, so again if you press the mouse button, if the mouse lock or middle mouse button, whether or not it will actually just stick, whether it's a toggle or whether you got to press and hold it. Scroll zoom, so you know I was saying before, you can't assign zoom to an axis. You can individually per camera assign zoom to your scroll wheel if you wish to do. You can also go through and when you set your presets up, you can set it so that it will skip when cycling a preset, and you have to actually manually select it if you so desire. Transition in and out, so this is how long it takes between when you actually, how long it takes for you to go between one camera and another. So this can be everything from 1 second all the way up to 5 seconds at the moment. So all the way up to 50 seconds, I think, 50 seconds. So yeah, I'm sort of keeping it, so defaults, no, that must be 5 seconds, so 5,000 milliseconds. So basically, it's instantaneous versus 5 seconds. That is the limit at the moment. You can't go anything longer than that. So yeah, good and bad. It'd be nice to be able to see that go a bit longer if we so desire, especially for some of the external view, and you're going to pan through, get a nice smooth transition going through some external views. That'd be nice to go longer than that. So we're going to set this one down at about 2 seconds. We're going to leave that as our default for now. So about 2 seconds, near enough. Easy functioning, so you can change whether it's a cubic, whether it's quartary, and you can also change how often it does, so where most of the speed is, how quickly it changes and stuff like that. So this is pretty interesting and pretty cool for you to be able to do this. So there's a lot of options for you to do it. I haven't really messed with these a lot at the moment, though I personally kind of like the sort of the middle of the road of the cubic. I kind of like that one. Circular is a bit steep, I find, and exponential is the same. But somewhere the quintic, quadric, or cubic are kind of the ones that I'm enjoying at the moment. So, but there you go. You can go through and you can change those. Sinusoidal essentially is the softest curve of all of them. So we're going to stick with the quadric one at the moment. That's the one I'm sort of enjoying at the moment. Let's do that one. Cool. Alright, these ones over here, so this is to do with directional movement, roll movement, and zoom movement. So this gives the acceleration that the camera moves at. So this is all, initially it starts off at 1, which is the global default, and this is the amount of inertia that goes behind it as well. Now you can move these around. Not a huge impact at the moment, so I think it's very much they're still tweaking and working on this, but it's good to know. You can also change these based on whether you're using keys, a controller, your head tracking software or a mouse. So you can do these individually, or you can have it just as a global setting and it applies to all. Alright, stabilization options as well. So enable gimbal, as it says before, enable gimbal, so whether or not it's going to be locked to a sort of gimbal as your aircraft actually moves about in the 3 axes, and absolute positioning again if it absolutely cannot move from a set spot. So mostly useful for things like instruments inside a cockpit. Very useful for that one. The framing overlay, as we said before, it still is a work in progress. So although you can turn these on and off, the actual overall overlays are not enabled as yet. So this is still a feature that is still coming at the moment. Alright, so that's the basics of the camera setup as well. So that's all done. So now next thing is, of course, let's set up some presets. Alright. Presets is really easy. Essentially, it's you get to where you want to be, and then you click add, and that's it. So first off, let's set our position up. So we're in our 172. We're going to do our pilot. So let's do. I think this looks about right. So let's go with the add, save a new preset. Let's go pilot view. Then type it in, and then click save. Done. That's it. Now, what you do now is that you now move your camera to where you want to have the next one. So next one will be our 6-pack of our instruments. So we'll do that one. Go forward a little bit. Yep, there we go. Nice clear instrument view. And then we simply go save new preset, and we go 6-pack view. Done. As I said, it's really simple. Now, while we're editing the camera or the camera's not saved, you may have noticed there that you saw the green light came next to the camera, which means it shows that it's unsaved. And it wasn't until we tick the green tick that we actually saved the view. Alright, so let's set another couple of views up now. Oop, wrong direction. Let's go down. And we want to have a look at these. Okay, there. Alright, we're going to move you across. As I said, the not being able to change axes, have them set the reverse axis independently, can get a little annoying and a little disconcerting at time. All right, there we go. Switches. Done. All right. Now let's go back, go up. Alright, so move across, move forward. Okay, a bit of a head tilt there. Cross, done. There we go, and another one, and we go save. Go radio stack. Alright, now updating cameras. Now updating cameras is disgustingly easy as well. So let's say, for example, I go on my radio stack, you know what, I don't want to have that much head roll. So what I'll do is I'll change that position, I'll change that a little bit, move it a bit forward, move it a bit down, move it a bit further across. Alright, cool. Now all I need to do is press, now I'd pre-bound the update camera key, and I simply update the camera, and bang, press the update camera button, and you notice that the little green light here went off to show that this camera is now updated. And that's all there is to it. That's it. That's how easy it is to add views. So the great thing is, and the other great thing about it is the fact that you still have all your actual controls while you're actually still in this, and that's fine, no problem at all. Yet you don't have to actually, enable anything to be able to, move the view and whatever. You don't have to worry about stuff like that. It is so much simpler and so much easier to actually be able to, control things and do things. we don't have to worry about, did I enable that type of view scenario in this particular view, which you do in EZDOK. And then if you want to do it, simply bang, done, go back, and it's all good. Because I didn't save it, I didn't update it, it didn't save, and we're all good to go. That's it. So the setup is a lot simpler than EZDOK. It's a lot more visual, a lot more simple, and a lot more easier to do. Alright, now, what you can do, for example, let's say we want to rename something. So all you do is you go to the view you want to rename, you right click on it, and you can go, so this is the other way of saving. So if you didn't have a hotkey saved or a hot button saved to actually update your preset, you can just right click on it and go update to current position, done. You can also delete, or you can rename as well. So if we want to, so let's just rename, we can rename this to primary instruments, done. Click outside the box and it's safe. Thought I could do it with enter. Obviously not. Anyway, so yeah, that's it. It's really that simple. It is one of the things I really like about this is the fact that it is so damn simple to actually set new views, update existing views as well. So you know, EZDOK as well, pretty easy to update views, but you know, it's a lot more visually appealing. And the fact that I can do assigning axes as well just makes my moving around my experience a lot easier as well. So that's it. It's that simple. It's that easy. So done. Okay. Now that we've set up a couple of views, actually, before I go showing off what you can do, messing around with some of the camera features, I'm going to go and I'm going to update some of the outside views of this aircraft. So I will be back in a moment once I've updated the outside views. Alright, so now that we've done all of those settings, so let's get ourselves fired up and let's have a look at some of the other cool settings again. So as I said, let's go back to our pilot view. So one of the cool things that as I said before, we've got the camera effects. Now the camera effects are just that camera effect. So they, unlike EZDOK 2, which actually modifies how the airframe behaves based on weather and acceleration and things like that, the effects at the moment are just on the camera. So as I said, we can go through here so we can see how they get affected by turbulence. Now probably the big one is going to be how we have a look at external aircraft ones as well. So you know, just we're going to leave this one as generic, but what I want to do is I want to show, for example, something like this one that I set up here. So this is the idea of, you know, have like a, you know, like a GoPro or something slung to the side of the aircraft. So what we're going to have, we're going to jack this one right up so you can actually see what that one looks like on takeoff. We're going to just like blow, like make these absolutely insane. You know, stupidly increase these ones. Yeah, probably a bit more than you would actually expect, but you know. Okay, and wind, we're going to jack those ones right up like that. Cool, done. Now they auto save, so if we go, for example, to the left wing, yep, see the default, and let's just like that. Now as I was saying before, you can copy these, so you can copy the contents and copy these settings, and you can save them onto another camera as well, which is always really, really cool. You can also copy a preset as well. So what I might do is I might, let's just go to this one here. So I'm going to copy this. We're going to save this as a new preset. So we're going to just label this 2. Done. And what we're going to do is we're going to go back to... Of course, it just throws in the next one there. I'm going to copy these settings here, copy the content of this camera. So basically, it gives me what I want to copy. It's like, yeah, pretty much like everything. Cool, done. So let's go copy that. Pan tilt roll. So we might remove these ones, but we want to copy the turbulence effects. They're the ones that we want to copy. Yeah, the controls, well, that's we're just using global controls for those, so we go copy that one, And now what we'll do is we'll go to left rehide 2, and we shall paste, and we can see, bang, they're all up there. And we'll use that so we can see what some of the differences of that, of the effect on the camera once we go to the skies. Alright, so I think we're pretty much ready to go, so let's go back to our presets here now. Now, static cameras. So a quick word on the static cameras. So as you saw here, I set up a couple of static cameras already. So with these static cameras, a couple of cool, interesting little features about these. So first thing that I want to show off is, and this is probably the most important one here, is change visible range. Now, this isn't a per camera setting at the moment, which is a bit of a shame. I'd really like to see this as a per camera setting rather than a global setting, but it just applies to, at the moment, it just applies to static globally. So you click the visible range. So essentially, this is how far away these cameras can be activated. So the default is 5 nautical miles. Now you can change this all the way up to 300 if you so desire. We're going to leave it at 5 for this one. And what will be interesting is as we fly away from the airport, you'll start to see these disappear. Now, in terms of changing views, they work just like before. So, and in terms of settings, so we'll just quickly jump into the camera settings. So we'll go advanced for this one. So you can see here that you've got the option of track aircraft. So this will mean that it'll actually, wherever the aircraft goes, it'll actually be able to track it as the aircraft travels along. And you can see here, for example, yep, we've got the runway 35, yep, tracking the aircraft. The gate, for example, I've turned track aircraft off. Now, interestingly enough, the track IR, although I've got it enabled, I've got my track IR and turned on right now, it doesn't actually do anything. So that's a little annoying. Again, I'm sure it's one of those things that's going to be fixed in the future, but yeah, just something to be aware of. And runway was one that I was just testing and didn't actually set up properly. So there you go. And yeah, there you go. That's it. It's as simple as that. Otherwise, all the other effects and everything are exactly the same as we saw for the external cameras as well. Done. Alright, so let's go back into our cockpit. Let me get my track IR going on like this. There we go. Okay, so let's get our Cessna 172 started. And oh, what happened there? Why did you... I had you set to always on top. We'll leave you always on top. Yep, always on top. Interesting. That the always on top doesn't always stay on top. Interesting. Anyway, let's get our 172 set up. Alright, done. Set up. All right. And we'll taxi our aircraft out. And what we'll do is we'll have a look at some of the external views while we do this. Let's cut to those. And, oh, yep, see, so there you go. Now let's cut to the opposite camera of that. Probably should have reordered those, but anyway. So that's our easy cam there, sort of our... so you can see it's quite an impact that the those camera effects can have, which is kind of disturbing, kind of cool, kind of disturbing. But as I said, it doesn't actually affect the aircraft per se. So this is something that I don't know. I've got mixed feelings about. Like it took me a while to get used to that in EZDOK 2, but I kind of liked it in the end. Because essentially what it does actually, really, is it gives you essentially an AccuFeel type ability to add to your aircraft without having to buy AccuFeel. That's really kind of what it does. Whereas this camera effect kind of, it only impacts the camera, which may be of more interest to people as well. So it's swings and roundabouts kind of thing. It really is. So there you go. That's what that does. Kind of disturbing, kind of cool. Anyway, but let's move back into our cockpit here. We'll be aware of the aircraft coming in. We might be able to get take off before he does. Well, what I might do is I might just simply quickly, we might quickly change that steady cam and see what it looks like as we take off. That could be good. Alright, so let's bring up our... Yeah, I said, not sure what it is. When I did the test for this video, it stayed on top like it was supposed to, but now it didn't. Anyway. Okay, so left strut. Okay, so let's go camera, let's go effects, let's go that, go ground, do about that. Engines, let's turn you down to about there. And as I said before, this is really cool because you can see how much it's actually influencing the camera at the moment. So how much impact is actually is being sent to the camera from the sim, which is always good to have. So let's just turn these down a little. There we go. Okay, that looks good. And what we might do is we might just wind that back a bit. Now again, just like in EZDOK, you'll find that it does the change when you do enable. So when you set it up with track IR disabled or turned off, it does change a little bit once you re-enable track IR. So something to bear in mind when you are actually setting up your views as well. So that should be good. And let's just update that camera position. Done. Cool story. Okay, all right. Let's taxi out.
Approaching 2-1.
So this is, yeah, as I said, it's kind of cool. You know, you can do a lot of really cool effects with it, just like you can in EZDOK. I think the biggest cool part about this for me is the fact that, you know, it's got the whole actual you know, I can actually bind things to axes, so I don't have to worry about buttons and stuff like that. It's about an axis, and you know, it is, you know, based on the fact that, you know, it's about the control input to the axis as well. So there's a lot of good stuff on there. You can see here as the engine's ramping up, accelerating, you know, just bumping a bit more. Going down the roll. So yeah, the ground shake's going, but we still got the bit of the air going on. So there you go. Like as I said, it's pretty cool. Now let's have a look at our exterior cams. So we'll have a look at those. There, nice view there. All right, so. So let's have a look. As I said, let's bring up the exterior cams now. Showing these off before. Oh no, presets. That's what I want. So for example, Lisbon Tower. There we go. So it's actually tracking my aircraft. So I can actually go through. So essentially, you know, it's like the tower controller in that, but except the fact that you can drop this anywhere you like, and you can actually move it if you so desire. And you know, we're just gonna get a bit of a see if I can navigate it to get a bit of a fly pass going on. As I said, this is still a work in progress, so sometimes we'll find that the cameras won't change. Like for example, I just tried to change the cameras just then, and it wouldn't actually change them for me, which is a little bit odd and a little bit annoying. There we go. It just looks kind of nice and looks kind of cool and just works quite well for being able to do as well cameras. So, you know, they work for me. They do work for me. There we go. Now if I just force the change there, now I can see it for the runway 35. So, cool. Okay. What's more interesting though is that these ranges will actually change. Now, once we get further away from the airport, we'll find that you actually you'll watch these ranges increase, and once we hit that limit, you'll find they'll actually then these cameras will start disappearing. So to do that, let's jump into another aircraft and let's try having a look at that, and we'll also have a look at the cinematic view that we can get with this as well. Okay, so here we are, end of runway 35. Just going to do a quick little one just to show, as I said, show some of the cool parts about the what happens with the static cameras as we fly away from them. But before I do, one thing I just remembered. So one of the things that bugs the hell out of me out of EZDOK 2 was the fact that it's livery specific. It's not model specific. The camera files that you said, it's specific per color scheme, which can be a little, I'll be honest, it's a little stupid, a little annoying. This is not, this is model dependent. So for example, right now, so I'm loaded here with the default CRJ. Now I'm going to be, as you can see, I'm going to be in the purple color scheme. Cool, awesome. In the purple color scheme, done. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is and you can see that up the top there. Let me just show that again. So you can see, yep, Bombardier CRG 700. Cool, done, awesome. Okay, let's change the color scheme, and let's go select aircraft. Let's change it to the Orbit one, shall we? Okay, so let's go to the Orbit Airlines. Done. And cool. All right, now let's check. And all our controls are still there. Everything is exactly as we expected to be because it's linked to the model file. No more of this having to, as I said, something that you don't have to worry about with this, which you do have to do for EZDOK, because EZDOK 2, you've got it. I would have to have actually reloaded all the damn like cameras again, and that gets really old. It really does. Okay. All right, enough of that. Now we've got pretty much good here, so let's we're going to take off so I can show off the so I'm going to show off what happens to the static cameras as we fly away, and I'm going to show off then as well what happens in the cinematic mode, and also some of the gimbal mounted features as we do turns and stuff like that. Okay, all right. So without any further ado, let's I'm going to hide that because that just annoys me. All right, do our flaps. Runway there, and actually we should be a nice little way to have a look at this. I think let's have a look at runway 35, tracking the aircraft. There we go. Should be good. All right. I haven't actually tried this camera yet. I put it in there sort of to test, and never really actually did much testing with it. Just sort of like did it. That's cool. I like it. I like the way it does that. That's awesome. All right, cool. Anyway, back to the cockpit. Alright, now I'm going to quickly, as I said, I want to show up what's happening with the static cameras. So, as you can see here, as we're flying along, this is now updating with the distance. Now, you'll remember, the distance I had set is 5 nautical miles. We'll just check that. So, as we fly along, what will happen is that eventually we're going to get beyond that 5-mile limit. And what will happen is that as we move away from that, as we move past through that 5-mile or that visible range, these cameras will become unavailable. which is a really cool thing. And one of the issues with EZDOK 1's, because EZDOK 2's world cameras still aren't there yet, but EZDOK 1's world cameras were always active and always selectable. So you could have one set up and you'd click on it and you'd end up on the other side of the planet, which can be a little annoying and very taxing on your system because it then has to load all the scenery. That can be a little issue. Alright, so as you can see here, about to hit 5 nautical miles here. So we were looking at this runway 35 will be the first one. And bang, there it is, disappears. And as we move more than 5 miles away from each one, they disappear. The 5 miles away for the last one. There we are. And it says no cameras in your area. That's it. It's that simple. So it means that you can't accidentally select it and cause issues with your sim, which is really, really cool. Like, really cool. Alright, now enough of that. Let's now have a look at the cinematic mode. So of course now it's going to be time we're going to have a look at the cinematic mode. As it, so cinematic mode will auto kick in depending based on your settings that we saw on the screen before. So based on the preferences that you had here, what it would be. So after flight level 180, after 5 minutes, every 15 second camera angle. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to force launch that one now so we can see it. Turn off my track IR. I'd like to be able to have an option so you can make sure it turns track IR off when I'm on this view, because I really kind of like it. It's nice and sedate and something a little different and kind of cool. And it'll go through, and it is a motion camera, so the camera does move. As you can see, it is actually moving. I'm not inputting any of the controls here. You can do control inputs to this, not many, more just the forward and back and side to side, but it will just change views and cycle through and give you that nice gentle movement as you're flying along, which is really kind of cool, and I really like it. I think it's a nice relaxing way to enjoy it, and a great way, a great thing to have during the mid part of a long cruise. You can actually sit back and enjoy your beautiful aircraft flying over this amazing simulated terrain. So yeah, I think this is a cool feature. I like it. It's something a little quirky, a little different, and some of the cool stuff you can do with it, which is really, really nice to see. Alright, next thing, and pretty much the final thing that we're going to go through to here before I wrap up with my final thoughts. So this is having a look at some of the gimbal settings and the head movement settings as we actually go through the cameras. So let's jump back into the cockpit and have a look at that now. Alright, so here we are. So we're cruising away in our CRJ. Now, I want to go through these things. Oh, before I forget as well, so with these ones, if you want to, for example, so there's other ways to remove cameras. You have an option, if you press and hold, while you're in this preset screen, if you press and hold Control, this allows you to delete or assign a shortcut key or a hotkey for you to be able to actually bring up specific views. It also allows you to actually move views up and down. So if you want to have something rearranged, you just simply click the up down arrows, allows you to move it through the list, and that'll be the list that it gets seen within. So there you go. Alright, now as you can see, I've set up 3 autopilot views for us to look at. So what we're going to do now, these are testing the gimbal and absolute location ones. So the gimbal, so this is the autopilot view as it is. Okay, so just this is how I've got it set up. So this is with neither of these features enabled. So if I move the aircraft around, okay, so we've got a bit of head motion, you can get a little bit of a tilt, but mostly it's still just done with that one. So yeah, nothing too sort of out of the ordinary with that one. Alright, now if I now switch over to the next one, which enables gimbal, okay, so if I now turn the aircraft, it's gimbal locked, so essentially it's horizon locked. So it will always remain level no matter what your aircraft is actually doing. So your aircraft will rotate, but that's fine, because what it will do is it will actually lock itself to that one. So very similar to the horizon hold feature of EZDOK 2. Essentially, it does exactly the same thing. Alright, the absolute position one is a little bit interesting. Essentially what it does, again, I don't think this is fully implemented yet. What this seems to do is it seems to just dampen the amount of the turbulence that would be affected, that would be set into the actual camera, and it just seems to dampen that effect by putting it as an absolute position. So it's just definitive. That's it. That's where it is. You still have the option to sort of move it around with the actual view controls. But yeah, it just seems to be just reset as it was. So yeah, that's the gimbal and absolute sort of functions that you have there. So yeah, not too bad. So, alright, what do I think overall of this add-on as compared to something like, to EZDOK, to EZDOK 2, what's my sort of comparative thoughts? Well, it's interesting because it's it's great that we now have a real practical alternative to EZDOK. It's one of those things where EZDOK's really had the monopoly on the market for the best part of a decade since its sort of inception, because it was very early inception. It was sort of with FSX coming out, and it's really just kind of stayed that way. It's been the number one to have. So chase plane represents a new way of looking at it, a new way of doing things. Is it perfect? Hell no. Does it have its issues? Yes, it does. Are those issues going to stop you from buying it? You know what? Considering that this is an alpha, admittedly a second phase alpha, but it's still an alpha product. This isn't finished by a long shot. You know what? This has got a hell of a lot of potential in it. For somebody like myself who does does a lot of videos, a lot of reviews, and does creative things and with their filming their flight simulators as well, this is a really exciting product. It means that I can actually bind things to axes. Like, that's huge. That is something I've always perplexed me as to why EZDOK doesn't do it. I mean, I'm not a programmer. For all I know, it's insanely difficult to do. I don't know. I'm just an end user. And for me, the idea of putting an axis onto this, it just makes sense. So being able to have that now is awesome. So being able to use this Xbox controller, or something similar like a gamepad of some description that has multiple sticks or control axes in it is brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant. So I think that's a really, really good idea and something that's long overdue. The only, I have a couple of bugbears, as I said, but but bearing in mind this is an alpha. I don't know where my profiles are being saved. That's actually bugging me because I haven't tried uninstalling this, reinstalling it to see what happens then. So I don't know where they go. I am assuming that they get uploaded and linked to your FSFX, your old packages account, your old prop account. I'm assuming you get that which, by the way, you have to have one of those accounts in order to be able to buy this and use this. So I'm assuming it gets linked to you online for that. And that's kind of one of the few bugbears that I've got with it. A couple of things like, being able to set the inverse of axes independently rather than having to do it as a global setting. That would be really nice. But overall, I'm finding this to be a really solid camera tool. One thing that EZDOK 2 has over this at the moment is the fact that with EZDOK 2's ability to have influence on the airframe itself and how the aircraft performs is a huge deal. Like, that is absolutely insanely cool. It's really a way of getting an awesome camera utility and A2A's AccuFeel in one. Let's be honest, that's exactly pretty much what it does. This tool doesn't have that feature, but the fact that there's this aircraft tab there, my guess is it's coming. So is this a product for you to get right now? Pros and cons. Pro, far better and more intuitive and easier to use interface than EZDOK. Ability to use axes and more natural ways to control the camera. World cameras that are mostly working and are region specific. Brilliant. Cons. struggling to find some. It's still an alpha product, so it does have bugs. It has crashed on me a couple of times and sort of just thrown me an exception and just quit. But it hasn't killed my sim. It's, just sort of died and I've just restarted and it's been good to go. So, and price-wise, for a new user, they're the same ballpark price point. They're coming in around about $40 each. So, I really recommend this. Like, as I said, the one thing that I recommend it with the caveat, the understanding that you are buying into an alpha product. That there are going to be bugs, there are going to be things that may not work, but if you do buy and want to, then I suggest that you are obviously somebody who wants to support it and willing to give feedback. So I really like it, and I have a funny feeling that this is probably going to replace EZDOK for me with using this camera utility, because so far I haven't found anything that's a showstopper for me, and EZDOK 2, for me, the world cameras not working is a showstopper for me. So yeah, this is pretty good. So overall, I'm gonna recommend this. It's great to see new life into it, and we shall see what happens with this titanic battle between EZDOK and a camera and chase plane for our camera utility dollars. So yeah, I definitely think that I can highly recommend a camera utility to anybody who flies on the ESP platforms. If you don't have one of these utilities, you're kind of nuts. Not gonna lie. Yes, they may seem expensive, but once you fly with them, it's kind of like those people who, when you get Track IR for the first time. When you get Track IR for the first time, it's kind of like, wow, how did I ever live without that? How did I ever live without that? Camera utilities like EZDOK 2 and Chaseplane fall into the same category. They really do. Anyway, folks, so that wraps up my first impressions and review of the Alpha 2 version of FSFX Packages. I have so much trouble saying that company's name. FSFX Packages chase plane. I hope you've enjoyed this little look. Let me know what you think in the comments down below, and don't forget, as always, to like the video and subscribe to the channel if you're enjoying these videos and want to see more. And of course, as always, you can catch up with me and all the things I'm up to between videos by finding me on Facebook and on Twitter. Just search NovaWing24. Alright folks, thanks very much for watching. Take care, safe skies to all, and we'll see you next time. Bye for now.